How's it going? It's Buck. Oh yeah, somebody told me I should get a gimmick going so I could get more views, and I thought, yeah, no, okay, yeah. Well, let's move on. I tried it. I'm not going to bother with it ever again. Today I'm going to cover 5 lies or techniques of dishonesty I have personally used to get through a show, to keep a show moving. So as a live sound person, working in clubs, small concerts, medium-sized concerts. This doesn't usually happen during the big shows because the bigger shows that I've worked, you're kind of enclosed and some of the stuff doesn't apply here. But so we'll reserve this for smaller shows, clubs, small concerts, that type of thing. Especially anytime you're mixing out with the audience or you're in the audience somewhere mixing. This is especially true then. So, lie number 1, or technique of dishonesty number 1, the broken fader. Okay, so I'd have a broken fader, and I'd sit there and I'd pretend to use it whenever I saw somebody want to give me advice on how to mix, or maybe a band manager wants to tell me how to mix, or somebody wants to, the guy who with the sausage breath, he just got like some street meat, and he comes in and he just smoked a big cigarette, and he wants to talk to you about sound and stuff like that. Or, one time it was a manager at the bar I didn't want to talk to, so I just pretend to work on a broken fader, and I'd look at this requires some acting, right? So I'd just take a look at the stage, and I'd squint my eyes and go, adjust the fader, stuff like that. So people come up to you, oh, okay, I see you're busy, so I'll come back in a bit. Yeah, come back in a bit. So it worked really well. It especially worked well one time when I'm working at this one club. It was a big club. And there's this guy, he's just loaded, right? One of the local drunk guys. And he's got this big pee stain on his pants, and, he's all drunk and wobbly. And he comes up and wants to start having a conversation. Broken fader. Pull out that broken fader. Yeah, buddy, sorry, I'm right in the middle of something, if you don't mind. Oh, okay, I'll leave you alone. And then, he just kind of walks away. So, broken fader technique. Technique number 2, the ghost overheads. So, overhead microphones that you're actually not using. I've had to do this because I've worked with a couple of bands who insisted on overhead mics, but I know in the places I was working, a couple of places I was working, this doesn't hold true for everywhere, but a couple of the places I knew that overhead mics were simply just unnecessary. The cymbals were too loud. I mean, why add cymbal noise to a mix? It's just horrible sounding when it's too loud. And so I would just have drum mics and no overheads. But if somebody insisted, oh no, we need overheads because they know better than I did, I'd just put an overhead mic on a stand, I'd wire it up. I might have even plugged it in, but I definitely didn't use it. Actually, half the time I didn't even plug it into the snake because I just said, I'm just going to lie it beside the snake. Nobody's going to see it. And they think they have overheads, but they really don't. Now, when I did plug the mic actually into the snake, at some shows, I would have the option if I wanted to use the overhead, but I most likely didn't because it was just, it was just adding too much noise to the mix. So that's the fake overhead microphone, or the ghost overhead. Okay, next one. The left-handed drummer. Okay, we'll call this, the technique is called the Modified Capsule. So I had a drum kit, I had like a drum mic set up for 4 or 5 drum kits. I think 5 bands brought 4 different kits. Band number 3 happened to be a left-handed drummer. And because of all the gear on the stage and all the cabinets, I think there might have even been a big Ampeg or something, people decided to put their cabinets all over my cables behind my back. And it was too late to do anything, and it was a really, really busy night, and I had to get the bands on and off the stage. So I'm using a 421 on the floor tom and an SM57 on the snare drum. And band number 3 comes up, and I forget the exact details, but it was such a pain to reverse the microphones, to put the 427 or 421 on one side and the SM57 on the other side. So I just left the 421 on the snare drum and the SM57 on the floor tom. I know how to re-EQ and mix and make it sound good. But the drummer insisted, no, you can't put a 421 on the snare and a 57 on the floor tom. That's not right. I said, what do you mean it's not right? No, 421 goes on the floor tom. Okay, so I had to pull out a little white lie, and I said, that 421 is actually a modified 57 capsule. And he said, what? I go, yeah, I did that because one night I had to save a microphone, and that's the only way I could save the microphone. So they're both actually 57s. One just looks like a 421. And he looks at me, oh, sorry, man. Okay, whatever. That's cool. So he goes back, and meanwhile, I'm like, okay, well, that got me out of that situation. I re-EQ'd. Things sounded great. No problem, right? Plus, most of the time, I was using 57s on floor toms anyways in a lot of clubs. So if that's what you got, that's what you got. There's like a sound difference, obviously, in the like a bit in the lows somewhere where you get a little more oomph out of the 421, but with a bit of EQ by sound, nobody could tell. So I had to do it. Number 4, the direct input guitar amp. So this band shows up and they tell me at the last minute that they have an extra guitar player, a third guitar player with an amplifier. And I said, okay. But I remembered I used up all my mics for that show because it was a really busy show. We had some broken microphones, and I'm out of mics. But I got a couple of extra DI boxes. So they put before, like during sound check, they put the guy's amplifier on the stage, and I put a broken mic in front of it with a cable. I didn't plug it into the snake, and then I took an effects send, line level effects send out of the back of the amp, and I put that into the DI box. Now, the DI box guitar amp is not going to sound as good as the mic'd guitar amp. But with a little bit of EQ adjustment, I did whatever I could because we were in a hurry. It was a busy show, and that's just what I had to do. And the guitar was there, and it sounded fine. Now, if you were to do an A-B comparison, you'd go, oh, yeah, sure, the microphone amp or the mic on the amp actually sounds better, but nobody did that. They just heard the guy's guitar. Everybody was happy, so I had to do that. Number 5, the punk rock microphone. So there was a band in Toronto. I'll name them, what the heck, Dirty Bird. They're probably not watching anyway. And the lead singer decides to pick up the microphone and start singing in it. And I couldn't understand the lyrics. I would have to follow along with the lyric sheet to know what the guy was singing about. But I like the style of music. I actually like hardcore punk, or some hardcore punk. But as part of the show, he picked up the mic and threw it against the floor at the end of one of the songs. And I'm like, damn. So I killed the channel. I muted it. It was still working, but he didn't know that. He picks up the mic. What's going on? Hey, mic's not working. I go up to the stage. I hand him this crusty old SM48 with tobacco and liquor and saliva and all the remnants of whatever goes directly onto a microphone diaphragm, because the microphone grill, the pop filter inside, got worn away because before me, nobody ever cleaned the microphone grill or the pop filter. So it just kind of crumbled. And then liquids and whatever would accumulate on the diaphragm of the microphone. And it sounded okay at best. So I just kept it around because it actually still worked. It was a good backup. Not for a lead singer. But when you're going, then I don't think anybody cares anyways. So I looked at the guy and I go, here, hand me that mic. Here's another one. He goes, did I break the mic? And I go, yeah, let's just worry about that after the show. He goes, okay, sorry, man. I go, let's just here, give me the mic. I'll give you this one. He puts it on. He starts singing. He abuses the mic, whatever. Meanwhile, I have an SM58 that's in perfectly good shape that I'm not going to give out to him for the rest of that set. So yeah, that was I had to do that because I had to save the microphone, and there was no time to argue about this. So those are basically the 5 lies or techniques of dishonesty that I have used to get me through a show. Call me a liar. You find yourself in similar situations. You got to make the best judgment just to get the show going. I didn't have the support of a stagehand. I didn't have the support of a stage manager. I was alone at a lot of these shows. So I had to take over and wear many different hats and make many quick decisions just to get the shows going. So one thing to do with the broken fader technique, or maybe you could do the potentiometer. What I would do is I'd whip out a word like potentiometer, and if somebody was bugging me about something that I couldn't do anything about, I would just say, I'm working on a potentiometer problem right now, and they'd be like, oh, okay, you're busy. So it could be a broken fader. Bring out a big word like potentiometer, and then people tend to leave you alone. Anyways, thanks for watching. Maybe make comments. Maybe you have had similar techniques that you've done in the past. I would like to know about them. Please subscribe. Have a great day.